Hey, what's going on, audience? Welcome back to Fresh Film Talk. I got the lovely, the poetry, the actress, the director, writer, all the above, Miss Keisa Carroll in the building. What's going on, Keisa?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm good. How you doing?
Thank you for coming. You know,
Yeah,
I'm,
friend,
I'm
for
doing
sure.
I'm doing great. So, what you been up to lately? What's been going
Oh
on?
man, just trying to get past these holidays. I'm losing my tan, friend. I got to get in front of some sun. But I'm writing some projects, working on a couple upcoming poetry series, working on a film. So I'm staying busy. I'm in the lab, getting ready for production season coming around this spring.
Production season. Okay,
Yeah.
what you got going on? Let us know.
Well, little tip. I can't say a whole lot,
Ah, come
but
on, come on.
I'll give you a little something.
Okay.
So currently, I am working on a voiceover project where I get to be uh, a little boy. It's about as much as I
What?
can say. This is my first voiceover project.
Okay.
I actually just shot something through my agency, booked my first TV show, but I'm in the background. It's nothing major, but you got to start somewhere.
Who's your agency?
Helen Wells Agency.
Okay, Charlotte.
Yeah, shout out to Helen Wells. They definitely put on for a lot of people in the city, and shout out to Alfonso Wesson, who
Okay.
actually got a lot of black representation in their inaugural class in Cincinnati when they first came here back in like 2019.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, speaking about that, let's jump into B3C. That'll be the first topic. The reason I
oh
want to
yeah,
do that is because that's how
that's where
me,
we got
yeah,
connected.
that's how we got
Yeah.
connected. So let's kick it out. So like, who are some key people? I know you mentioned Zoe Weston, but who are some key people that has inspired you or influenced you in the game?
Oh man, that's a good question. Definitely Zoe first and foremost.
Okay,
Um, Alicia Redmond,
okay,
Alicia Lee.
mm.
Um, Goodness, there's so many people. Brandon Willis,
Yeah,
yourself, Josiah.
okay,
There was, the cool thing about B3C is there's just so many talented people, and
mm.
if I'm missing anybody, charge it to my head, not my heart. But everybody in B3C is so talented that you put a group of creative minds together in a room and you just see the magic that happens. And we were able to make that magic for a few projects, including
Yeah,
Game Night that we
yeah,
met on that set. Um, the 48-hour film festival that we were able to that I was able to compete in twice,
mm.
and we did pretty well both times. So I mean, yeah, it
Yeah,
was B3C was a really great foundation for my production experience. So outside of acting, that's really where I got my roots in being able to write a script and being able to see the whole film process come together and even to jump into producing. I had no dream of being a producer
okay.
until I got into B3C and kind of found myself in
Speak
that
on it.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like what was your like when you got to B3C or like when you first got on set, like what was your moment like? So I can say that I told Bernard that hey, when I first got to B3C on set, it was kind of like the way I described it was like arriving at Wakanda for the first time and just like looking at a whole bunch of like black filmmakers and just like, yo, this person has a gimbal, or this person has this camera, or this person
Mm-hmm.
has these lights. It was just like a whole bunch of like gear,
Yeah.
and like wagons full. Like we were bringing up on elevators, bring it, and we had a whole bunch of like gaffing equipment, so much tape, and so much C stands and all that stuff. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, dang, like like it shows like how far you can come as a group.
It's
You know
true.
what I mean? So like, what was your first experience like? Like,
Oh man, I remember I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect, but I just remember being in the room
mm,
with so much creativity, and everybody just had this fire
mm,
and this passion, just ready to see what was out there and see what we were capable of producing. And so I think the first project that I got to work on was the 48-hour film festival.
okay.
And so my first film that I ever wrote was Frame,
Mm,
and that we got nominated for 6 awards. We didn't win anything, but we did place in Cincinnati's top 10. So that was the first year. That was the first project that we ever did, and the second was Game Night, where we met.
okay. So I've been talking to Venard lately, and I know he wants to like I don't want to say like do a relaunch, but he definitely wants to have a more of an impact with B3C for 2025. So with that being said, I think if he does watch this episode, what type of influence do you think B3C has on the not just the film community, but the overall community in Cincinnati or just Black film?
I think B3C has a lot of potential.
Okay.
Um, but I do think that where we could be stronger at was making sure that we have a structured and
Mm,
having that organizational structure that way we have a flow on how to bring people into the loop, how to keep people in the loop,
mm,
and that way we just kind of keep the wheels turning. But there's so much potential I think that B3C has,
mm.
and especially with what we were able to accomplish in
Right.
such a short amount of time,
Yeah.
that couple year turnaround from what was that 2018
Yeah.
to 2020, I
Mm-hmm.
think up until the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
everybody was rolling.
Yeah.
And then so on top of that, you had other people who had just different projects and they were able just to have this pool
Mm.
to just kind of grab from, and everyone's just, I'm ready, I need a gaffer, I need somebody on the sound, I need somebody
Right.
on the lights, and then you go to that one central place and now you've got the team of people that you need to create something.
That's crazy because you said that because I remember this last week when I hit you up, I was like, "Hey, can you do a hosting opportunity for me?" You just like, you couldn't do it that time.
Yeah.
But I went into like the B3C group page and I just
Mm-hmm.
posted a post on there and I got a response back immediately. I was able to get one ASAP.
Yeah,
So like that group right there, I mean, people need to utilize that. I
it's
mean,
true. I
yeah,
still send people to the group. Even
yeah,
if there's like not regular meetings happening, I still tell all aspiring filmmakers that cross my path,
hmm,
if they're looking to get connected, that B3C is the group
yeah,
where
for
you're gonna
sure.
find everybody.
For sure. So, what's your most memorable moment in B3C? Would you say?
Oh goodness. There's so many, but I would, if I had to say my most memorable was shooting game night. Game night was so much fun to shoot. And it was a long day. I think we had like a 13 or 14-hour day on set. Like we
Mm-hmm.
got there at like 7 in the morning and we didn't leave until like 10 at night. But it was just such a cool experience. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but lovely brother that let us shoot in the basement of his mansion. So if you ever watch Game Night, you'll see that in the back corner there's like a theater room, and it
Mm-hmm.
says theater at the top.
Yeah.
But we were outside, just outside of the theater, in that
Right.
little basement area. So it was a cool experience. The cast, the crew, we got busy. We made
Oh
something
yeah.
beautiful, and like it went viral low key during the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah,
So
it did.
it was just a really great experience. That was such a fun shoot to be on.
Okay. So since you brought up game night, you kind of beat me too. I want to talk about it a little later on in the show, but since you done brought it up, so when you first read the script for game night, what was your
I didn't
thoughts?
read the script. I wrote the script for game night. Well,
What? Okay.
let me take it back actually,
Okay.
because I got to give credit to Alicia Lee. Alicia Lee was the brainchild behind game night. She and I were. She was actually retwisting my locks, and we were in her living room, and we were talking about how to create something that was just really eye popping and really capturing to the B3C audience. So we kind of did it in two parts. I wrote a poem at the beginning, which we shot. We actually shot that at, oh goodness, what's that little co-working space on Vine?
Oh,
Uh,
dang, you used to have a membership there too.
right? Is it like
Um,
Fountain? That's not Fountain Square.
nah,
Town?
Union
Union
Hall.
Hall.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we ended up shooting it there. We did so the poem was really the part that I honed in on and wrote, but the storyline for game night was Alicia's story. So I probably did like the dialogue, and we kind of did that part together. But I didn't just read it. I helped create that script.
okay, okay. Well, excuse me. All
no,
right.
no, no, it's all
Well,
love.
so
But
you
maybe
mentioned
shout out to Alicia Lee because that
yeah.
was definitely her brainchild.
So you guys shot the poem. What happened to it? Like what?
That's always a great question of what happens in post.
Right.
I get it up to the part of production. Granted, it was released.
Mm,
We did see it.
right.
I just don't know what happened to those archives, or You
So
know,
you got no explanation why it wasn't
I
used or anything like
I
that.
have
I didn't
no
know that. I
idea.
didn't know it was
I
a.
think that would be a great question for Bernard. As a matter of fact, I think
Uh
he's got those
oh.
archives. Perhaps. Shout out to Bernard.
So one thing I did realize when watching game night, I noticed that you guys used your actual name. Everybody used their actual names,
We
right?
did. We did
Well,
use our actual names. And it was, I don't know what we were thinking, but I think the goal was to show that we're B3C.
hmm
This is what we're capable of. And this is kind of like a small introduction of who we are and what we can do. And it was just meant to give you just a little something, just a little sprinkle,
hmm
and to leave the audience wanting more. So maybe that's why we kind of used our real names, was just because it was meant to be kind of like this infomercial for B3C to say, we're on the scene, this is who we are, and we just came to give you just this little sprinkle of what we can do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Keisa, the character. You guys are you and Josiah. We'll shout out to Josiah,
Which
who's
is
gonna be on the
funny.
show or on the show later on.
That's the homie.
Yeah. So you guys were diabolical in there.
Diabolical.
Yeah, yeah. So like, how did you mentally prepare for your character?
You know what was funny? There was a moment where we're preparing for the last shot, which was when Alicia walks for when the game the charade has been exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Josiah and Keisa are creeping. You hear the ooh. And so as we're preparing for that shot, because she does this walk first towards me,
mm-hmm.
and she looks at me and gives me this this look of shame, and then she goes over to Josiah with the drink. Um, Before we got to that particular scene, I think I was just kind of sitting by myself, and you try to put yourself in the space of like, what if I was actually in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And and at the time, me and Alicia were super super close, so I'm thinking like, man, if I really hurt one of my close friends like this, how would I feel? And that was the other challenging part, because
Mm.
for me to use my real name,
Right.
and I'm playing a character that is not me in this moment, um, I was like, I would feel really jacked up if this happened in real life. So I was
Mm.
able to really just kind of channel that energy and channel that feeling of how I would actually feel in a situation, or even remembering a time that I felt as low in my real life.
Mm.
And so being able to kind of harness and knowing when and how to channel that, I was able to. And I'll think of to think of a funny moment that happened. I think tears started to actually kind of well up in my eyes as I was
Yeah.
like in my thoughts. And Brandon Willis, shout out to Brandon, who's another fantastic creator, who
Oh yeah.
also held through B3C. Brandon was the DP for game night. And
Okay.
Brandon happens to walk past me and he sees me. He goes, "Friend, who I gotta fight?" So it was a great experience. And it really kind of showed me what I'm capable of as an actress. So
mm. So as far as the audience, is there anything that you think the audience could relate to or find compelling with the storyline in Game Light?
oh, for sure. And I think it was just from the conception, Alicia had this really brilliant idea that we wanted to showcase Black people engulfed in a game night, but not your regular, spades table, dominoes, but like, what could this look like? And then what is the mess
Mm.
that's being that's kind of stewing in the background that comes to a head.
Yeah.
So I really loved everyone. It was really a team effort. So you had Alicia Redmond coordinating. She was the director. She was coordinating the outfits and the colors. I mean, so everything just popped, from the acting to the storyline to the way we looked to the game that we were playing. So I think it was all compelling, because you could really see somebody in that situation like, okay, a game night,
Mm.
a game night amongst Black folks, good looking Black folk with
Mm.
nice beautiful colors on. It's just not something that you see all the time, but it's something that could easily pull you in, because that could easily be any of us.
Mm.
And then on top of that, when you get into the matters of relationships and love, and people can be messy, things
Yeah.
can get messy, and I think that's a part of human life. But then it's how do you how do you humanize yourself and the other people in that moment,
Mm.
or not.
Right,
So
right.
it's a lot to consider, as a writer, as an actor, especially when we wear more than one hat in our world of indie filmmaking,
Oh
because
yeah.
you never just wearing one hat most
Nah,
times. You know
nah.
about that.
Oh, I know everything about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So as magical, memorable, exciting as game night is. I won't say
Hmm.
was because I think there's still life for it for like a sequel or something, but
Yeah.
maybe not. But you never know. But my question was gonna be is there anything that you would have done if you could revisit it? Is there anything you probably would have done differently if you can go back in time? I know you mentioned like the poetry part. I'm probably sure you wanted to include that in there some
Yeah.
way,
Well,
but
I mean, they were shot separately, but they were supposed to go together as far as one being shown and then right, because if you remember in the poem piece, it ends with us saying lights, camera, action, and we're walking onto a set, as if like we're about to start filming. And so the two do go together very well. But if I had
mm,
to change anything about it, I would say I wish we would have been able to develop that into a feature.
oh
Um,
yeah,
Only because the response that we got was just such a really good response, and we got 4 film selections
right.
in different film festivals,
Okay,
including Paris. We were screened in Paris during
okay.
the pandemic. So
Dun, dun,
you
dun, dun,
right
dun,
off
dun,
that
dun, dun,
4 minutes,
dun.
right? That 4 minutes and some odd clip. So I can only imagine what we would have accomplished if we had really sat down and taken the time to really develop that and then see it all the way through.
Oh yeah, because it's like when I watch it, it's like how did they get together? You know, how long had they been?
Right?
Creeping. So many questions. What
And
happened?
I was really interested in developing the storyline too between me and Alicia's character, because you're like there's something here between these two.
Yeah,
So there was a lot to unpack there.
for sure. So let's you mentioned the 48-hour film festival
Hmm.
and how B3C had a presence there. So one film that I was a part of, you were a part of as well, was Tag. So
Oh
let's
yeah.
let's talk about Tag. How was that? How was that created? Because I was just brought on to do like behind the scenes stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I didn't really have like that much of an impact on the movie itself, but I was able
But you
to
got to
capture.
see.
Yeah, I was able to have like the first role impact of like what was going on. So like,
Yeah.
how was
Man,
that created?
that was such a magical experience, and it just a lot of that was just this timing, perfect timing. And I got a
Mm.
couple of funny BTS stories about Tag
Oh, do
too.
spill the tea.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So I was a producer on Tag. The storyline itself was Brandon Willis's idea. He was the director, but
Mm.
of course Brandon would usually call me to handle the dialogue and the scripting. So on the way, so what happens for people who don't know about the 48-hour film festival? On Friday night, all the producers we meet at a hotel.
Mm.
We pull 2 genres out of a bucket. You can either combine the genres or you can choose one or the other, but it has to be true to the genre.
Mm.
And so for Tag, we had gotten drama. So I'm on the way. The team is already at Brandon's house waiting
Yeah.
on me to pull up. So I call them. I'm like, we got drama. I'm on my way. Brandon's like, I got a story kind of already in mind.
Mm.
So I get there. He runs the storyline by me. Instantly, I go to work.
Mm.
Get the script done. We start shooting that night,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact. So a lot of people kind of hit the ground running the next day.
Right.
We started shooting that night. So first funny BTS story, we shot the pool scene that night.
Yeah.
And we're in the pool, we get out, I'm like getting changed and dressed, and
Mm.
Brandon's like, you finna kill me. I forgot to get this one shot, and it's the shot where you see his legs step into frame right
Mm.
before you hear me scream.
Yeah.
So I had to get back in the pool at 1 a.m. The water's like 60 something degrees, and you can hear these loud frogs
Yeah.
croaking. And you would think, at first, I'm like, oh, maybe that was some CGI, or they're going to use some CGI. We didn't have to.
Right.
There were frogs in the pool. As a
Right.
matter of fact, the scream that you hear me scream is a
Right.
real scream. I'm sitting in the pool. Brandon's got these floaties in the pool, and one of them is coming my way, and I'm like, I see something on the floating. I'm trying to look. I'm like, what is that? And baby, when that frog jumped,
Hey.
all you heard
It's
was
good.
my mouth wet. I didn't realize we were recording. And Brandon actually used that. So
Hey.
just the timing of it was so perfect, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But that was a fun project. And the crazy part is everything was going so well. It was too easy.
Yeah.
Friday night was a breeze. Saturday all day shooting was a breeze.
Mm.
We didn't run into issues until we start doing the final edits
Yeah.
on Sunday, and the computer crashed. The computer crashed, and it resulted in us having a late submission,
Yeah.
which disqualified us from everything else. But we were still nominated as fan favorite
Mm.
and the poster. We were nominated
Yeah.
for the best poster, but we weren't allowed to win anything.
Yeah.
But
Which was
you just wonder what if.
no,
if that
I know,
didn't
I know
happen?
we would at least got something. Like when I watched those films that were there, no disrespect, but it was just like it wasn't
Yeah.
because I feel like Tag was like very creative. It was kind of like it was like a feature, but like in a small package size. But you can but you could have easily made that a feature for sure.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the winners, actually, the winning team, they shouted us out, which was a B3C team. So I mean,
Right. I mean, yeah.
B3C took it that year.
Like-
we dominated that year, and Bernard, I remember Bernard saying like it was a good thing that he was like, you can't see it now. But
Right.
maybe it was a good thing that one of our teams got DQ, because he was like, can you imagine how that would look if we all just dominated like that? And I think he was like the regional director over the film festival that year.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't need no extra.
Right.
smoke.
It definitely would have looked a little like
couldn't
favoritism.
But you couldn't deny the talent. That's the thing.
Oh, no.
And all of the teams that we entered in, and I think we had 3 teams that year.
Mhm.
Every single team that we put in was filled with super creative, talented people. So while it should surprise some people, it shouldn't. The work ethic was there.
So I know you mentioned like your worst moment that you had, when filming Tag and the frog jumped out. What was your most memorable moment when filming there? Or what was your favorite?
That wasn't even the worst moment. The worst moment was being disqualified.
What?
And I'm in the car. Actually,
Okay.
I think we're in the car trying to get the computer back up and trying to study this edit on the way to turn it in.
Oh man.
And I'm crying on the way. I'm in tears. I'm in literal tears. And Brandon is like, I wouldn't want to lose with nobody else but y'all. And I'm like, Brandon, this is not, it's too soon, friend. It's too soon. But that was probably, I can laugh about it now.
Right.
But during the process, that was probably the hardest moment, because we worked so hard and everything was so perfect until it wasn't.
Yeah, them 48s are tight, man. I can't ever, I think I did 2. And both projects, same thing. It's just that final edit, getting that submitted, man. Just
It's work.
the ball gets dropped sometimes. And like you said, it could be just something spontaneous, like your computer crash. You got everything up and running, ready to go, and it just all of a sudden just dies on you. You can't reboot it, and now it's time to, and it's just like, because you do that, you put all that work in, you stay up late at night, you get very tired.
What is sleep that weekend?
Man, right. But then when it doesn't get submitted, it's like,
it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But even still, to be able to go to the festival, to see the actual film in its full completion, and to see the audience's response to the film, like, it felt really good.
Something relatable. I didn't even have this question written down, but how do you feel about film festivals? What's your overall thoughts?
I like film festivals. I do see a lot of opportunity. So the film festival that I'm most familiar with, that I go to, that I've been going to probably since, well, I kind of stopped actually during the pandemic, but I would go to Sundance every year in Park City, Utah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And what's really, really neat is there's a very small niche Black film community. And so, like, when you go to these different places and you start to see the same people, and you realize, like, okay, like, our film community, like, it's a lot of us, but it's not a lot of us at the same time. Um, I want to see more centered around Black creatives and Black filmmakers, and I want to see more opportunities. And that's not to say that they aren't there; they're definitely out there. But I still just want to see more. But overall, I do enjoy the film festival circuit. I want to see more investment
Mm.
into the creatives who submit. I want to
Okay.
see more of a
Well, before you elaborate on that.
yeah, I want to see more. So what's the takeaway? What are the the people who do get selected, or the people who are screened the most, or just whatever the opportunity is. It's definitely a space to get your work out, and it's a space
Mm.
to meet people and connect.
Right.
So there's always opportunity there, but I definitely just want to see more channels of opportunity, that it leads to something else, that it grows into something else. And
Right.
again, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I just want to see more.
Okay. Well, speaking about film festivals, I know me and you had a conversation about a film that we partaked in called Power of Music, and you asked
Absolutely.
me, "Hey, can we submit this into? Why is this in any film festivals or anything like that?"
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. How did you get involved in Power of Music? Like, what was your
I saw I don't know if it was you or Josiah, but one of
mm,
you had posted the audition.
probably both of us?
But
Yeah.
it's true. And maybe when I saw, I was like, oh, my people.
Yeah.
So I showed up to the audition, and I think I read for Tracy, who I
Mm,
ended up playing. And yeah, from there, the rest was just history. But I understood the heaviness
mm,
of that particular piece, but I also understood the necessity of it.
yeah.
Right. So I Power of Music is one that's near and dear to my heart,
Oh,
mainly
okay.
because I got to embrace some newer actors.
Oh, yeah.
And so the shout out to Irvin.
Oh,
However,
okay, well, hold on. We'll get into the urban and everything. I was gonna ask you all those questions first, but yeah, you get ahead of me a little
so
bit.
it's just gonna flow
But
organically.
yeah,
But I actually met Irv during our first table read,
yeah,
and so ever since then, that's my son. And ever
yeah,
since then, I'm Mom Dukes.
yeah,
So we actually got to build that relationship on screen,
yeah,
and now I definitely support him in his ventures. He supports me in my ventures, so
yeah,
that's son.
yeah. Which Irvin plays her son in the movie, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy to look at you guys' relationship. Because sometimes I'll be on social media and I see you like, "Hey, son, what's going on, son?"
Yeah,
And he'll call you mom, and it's just like, wow.
yeah.
That type of relationship was created by
On
something,
set.
yeah, like
And you know what? What I think what gelled it in is I think I got to see the scene where he gets killed, and
oh,
like
spoiler alert.
it was messing with me. Oh, I
Yeah.
know. Edit that out. You
Yeah,
didn't
I
hear
don't think.
that.
Yeah, we haven't even screened it yet.
I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry.
all good. It's
My
all good.
fault. So no, he wasn't unalived. I just envisioned that. No, but and something happens to him. Can we edit that out?
Yeah, we'll edit it out for these two.
My fault.
Yeah, it's
I
all
didn't mean
good.
to give that away. But to answer your question,
Yeah.
something happens in the film, and I happened to watch that scene, and
Hmm.
it bothered me for real. I'm like tearing up, and he was like, "Mom, don't cry. It's cool."
Yeah.
But just since then, we had just been really tight. Um, and then to find that people look up to you as somebody who does write and act and produce. And for me, I think the biggest treasure of being in this position is it's a gift that keeps on giving. So you do get to welcome other aspiring actors and actors into the fold, and to kind of serve as that mentor, that big sister, that big brother, that mother, that
Mm,
you never know who you're going to come across and what's going to take shape from there.
mm.
So I've forged some really cool relationships by doing this work.
Okay. So like, how did you? Because you mentioned about like the weight of Tracy, as far as like the emotional weight of Tracy and
Hmm.
all that. So how did you conjure that up and was able to deliver that on camera?
Well, I'm somebody's mama in real life. So, I can't imagine losing a child in that way.
Hmm.
But I have lost other family members
Mm.
to gun violence.
Okay.
And so being able to put myself in that position of feeling the heaviness of that loss, especially in the face of a young man that is nonchalant, of a person that's just don't care about nothing, and how I would really feel in that situation. So for me, I'm able to really kind of channel into how would I actually handle or respond to something like this, or how have I responded to something like this in the past.
Mm.
So I mean, I think all of those elements allowed me to kind of conjure up the performance that I delivered for Tracy's role.
So what do you want? So from your performance of Tracy, if I'm a parent watching this, what do you want the audience to convey, or what do you want them to get from it, from your performance? Would you say?
Mm, that number one, it's in the title, The Power of Music. That music is so powerful that it does have the ability to kind of set forth this chain reaction of events that spawn from whatever that creation is. And so I think I would hope that any parents watching that are talking or showing this to their aspiring musicians or artists,
Mm-hmm.
um, to show them that there is a sense of responsibility and integrity that you can and should have if you're going to enter into this and make this your craft. And then on top of that, for those of us who are parents who lost our children, you had the other parent that lost her daughter in the process,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to say how, you got to
Yeah.
watch it to figure out how. But to show that everybody loses. Nobody wins when the message and the energy that's being put out
Mm-hmm.
is negative, or promotes harm or loss. That it's a loss for the community. It's a loss for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what I would want the takeaway to be.
Yeah, and one thing that I like about the film is that it's not just one sided. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're blaming me, but what about you as a parent? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
so let me ask you, like,
Yeah.
what do you think about as far as like the power of music? Is it the artist's responsibility? Are they the ones to blame, or is it the parents the one to blame? Who's the
It's
one
a
to
lot of
blame
it's a lot
as
of
far
it's
as
so much nuance, right?
okay?
Because number one, you are your child's first teacher.
Mm,
And so having that relationship, having that open line of communication and that dialogue is important, because if you're not checking on what your kids are listening to, or not even having conversations about what it is they're absorbing, you don't even know what's in their ether or how they're channeling it. So
mm,
for me, music is a very big part of my daily life. So anytime I'm in my kitchen, the music is on. If I'm cleaning, the music is on, and we're dancing in the living room. So I mean, I know how music shows up in my everyday parenting, and then that music is uplifting, and it's loving, and it's something that's going to make you feel warm and make you smile.
mm.
But I'm also aware of the music that exists, and I'm not going to say that I don't listen to none of it,
Right.
because different feelings require different things to channel it. But in the same breath, there's a responsibility there. And not everybody is going to take on that kind of personal responsibility.
Mm.
And then when we're talking about mainstream artists, now you also got to factor in, you got a record label that is in charge of this person's image.
Right.
And that, so that artist might not even be in charge of their own image, but they've got to fulfill this obligation.
Okay.
And then for a lot of these artists who never sold a drug a day in their life, who never shot a gun off a day in their life, but now they feel like they've got to project this image because
Right.
this is a gateway out of poverty.
Or it could be once they sign that dotted line, they in a contract now. So it's just like, okay, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't do this,
Yeah.
you owe us,
Yeah. You
X.
owe us this.
Right.
And on top of that, there's your replacement waiting for you out the door. So what you won't do, the next person will.
Mm.
So there's all of these different factors. So but I do think that it's going to, I think what's interesting, what's happening now is that there's a lot of power being shifted kind of back into the direction of the artists. And I'm excited to see how that takes root
Yeah,
especially over these next few years, and how many independent artists start to kind of flourish in the midst of all of that
yeah.
noise.
Well, let's speak on it because this is part of the film anyways, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily film talk, but it's related to the film anyways. I just want to throw that out there. But
Hmm.
one thing I've been noticing a lot, it's not more say the violence now, but it's more the sexualization of the females and female rap. Do
Oh,
you see
that's
that?
that's been.
I know it's been that, but I feel like it's like more upfront, especially like with social media and all that stuff
Hmm.
too. But I feel like from my perspective, the things that I've seen, it feels more. I see that more than I actually see more gangster rap. You see gangster rap more often, and then you'll see some because you had your little Kims, you had your if you want to put Eve in there, you had your E's. I won't
But
necessarily.
they were in the so. But the difference was, I
Yeah,
think, in the '90s and early 2000s, you had the Little Kims, the Foxy Browns,
Trinas.
the Trinas. They
Yeah.
were always kind of in the background of a man's crew or shadow. So you only knew Kim because of Biggie.
Hmm.
You knew Foxy because of Jay-Z. You
Hmm.
knew Eve because of the Rough Riders.
Right.
And so I think now you have a lot of women who are kind of eliminating the middleman. And now those women are not being essentially pimped anymore. They are able to tell their own stories. They are able to kind of facilitate their own narratives.
Mm.
And so when we talk about sexuality, um, I think it does beg the question of whose lens are we looking at this from? Because before, it was always so centered around this is what the men are saying, this is what the
Mm.
men are wanting. And until to a very large degree, don't get me wrong, it still is. But I think what is different is the ownership that women claim to their own sexuality. And that
Mm.
in itself is the controversy. Because before it was more accepted when, you're doing this under a man's guide or supervision, or this is the direction set forth by the crew, and now as a woman you are just acting within that, versus now you're telling your story your way and your narrative, and now it's you have full agency
Okay.
over how that's derived. So I do think there's you can say both good and bad things that stem from that,
Mm.
but I do think that the main thing is the shift of who is in control.
Mm. But what about the overall message, though? What do you think?
I think there is room for diversity. Um, I do think we get oversaturated oftentimes, but again, it also depends on what you like and what you're listening to, because it's not always my cup of tea. I'm not gonna say I don't listen to any of it.
Yeah.
I love Glorilla. I
Mm-hmm.
love Meg the Stallion. I like Doechii. Um, and let me just quickly touch on Doechii real quick. What I like about Doechii, because a lot of people don't know quite how to take Doechii,
Mm.
but to see a expressed black feminine rage in its full unapologetic essence.
Mm.
I don't know that we have fully seen that embodied before the way that she's doing it. And there's room for it, right? So
Mm.
I would just say there's room for versatility within our art forms.
Yeah.
So I don't like to box anybody in, but I will say I don't want to see every single um, dope artist being super sexualized. As a matter of fact, and everyone's not. Big shout out to
Right.
Janelle Monáe, who's one of my favorite lyricists. And Janelle Monáe can rap with the best of them, can sing with the best of them. So yeah, she'll not always get the credit she deserves, but
Hold on. You
they're
talking
they're
about
out there.
tightrope Janelle Monet, right?
Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. That's
Which
what we're
one?
talking about. The same person, right? You got
Who
me
you
on the
talking about?
tightrope. She had a song with Big Boy. You got me on the tightrope. She sings though, doesn't she?
I don't know what song we talking about right now.
She was in Knives Out, right?
She was in what?
Knives Out.
Knives Out. Is that a movie?
Yeah. The sequel.
Oh,
What's
it
that?
was like that mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was in that.
She used to be like that. Like she used to, she used to wear the suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did.
And then she took her suit off.
She took her suit off. She
So
did. But again, but again, she gets to be versatile because she's already shown you
yeah.
that she's talented with her clothes on. But who says that that woman gets to be boxed in and that's the only thing that she can be? And I think that's the biggest thing for women
Yeah.
is we get to be a multitude of things.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is ever just one thing, and we're not monolithic as women.
Yeah.
So I think having that versatility again is important. You do have people who embody the sexy, people who embody the intellect, and people who can embody both. People who
Mm-hmm.
embody the hood, people who So there's again, I say all that to say there's room for it all
Mm-hmm.
within our expression. But it sounds like you have some thoughts, friend. What are your
Nah,
thoughts?
it's just because I respected. Not saying I don't respect her now, but I respected the fact that she wore the suit because I think she said she wore the suit because her parents, went to work all the time, and she did that as a symbolism to, I guess, pay homage to her parents who worked all the time, when she was growing up. From what I remember, I think that's what she said, but it made it seem like like she was beautiful with the suit on, but like it was just like once she started being wearing showing her butt and stuff on more and all that, it was just like, oh, you done caved in to like
Do
what's
you
going
feel
on.
like it cheapens the art?
um no, I don't feel like it cheapens it because it's just like she still puts out great
She is
music,
that, yeah.
but it was just like, you done caved in,
What
you
do
know
you
what I
mean?
mean?
What do you mean by caved in?
Because like you said, she was or like I mentioned before, she had on a suit and she was she was like one way, and I guess it's like, I guess you can say people change, you know what I mean, evolutionize with yourself and music and all that, but it was just like good to see. It was kind of like seeing someone like you doing conscious rap. I'm not saying she did conscious rap, but I'm just doing
Mhm.
analogies. You doing conscious rap and now you doing ass shaking music. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dang, I thought you were one of the good ones. It's just like I'm dang. You see a girl, you're a young guy, high school. You see a girl, she a little nerdy, you know what I mean? But she ain't into trouble. Then one day she meets a bad boy, and all of a sudden she's promiscuous, and you're just like, dang, that's a good girl gone bad. You
But
heard? Yeah, that's what I'm
and
looking
here's
for.
what I'll say. I'll be the first to say I actually hate that, respectfully, friend. And
No,
I say that
let's
because
yeah.
it's not so much that she's caved in, but I think that when people see that one dimension of the artist,
Mm-hmm.
then people tend to box in that artist because she can be nerdy and sexy. She can be a girl could be nerdy and have full agency of her body. And the thing is, nobody bats an eye when men do it. Men can do the exact same thing. Drake can have an album where he's a lover boy. Then
Drake.
suddenly Drake. Are we still saying that
Drake?
name in
Right.
2024? But just to give an example, nobody bat an eye. Well, a lot of people didn't bat an eye until Kendrick made them bat their eyes.
Mm.
Shout out to K Dot.
Oh,
Big shout
okay.
out to K Dot.
Okay.
Big, big Kitty, not the little one. But anyway,
Yeah.
when we first saw Drake and he was the lover boy, and then he turned into the hood dude.
But I feel like,
But that was embraced.
I
He
feel like it was
catapulted.
ignored. It was just like, okay, he's still putting out, the good music, but it was ignored.
It was good.
I would say,
2 Chainz said you good, but he lied.
look, okay. I feel like you could. I feel like, okay, I'm not gonna be a hater. It was good. It was good music. You can't say. Come on, and the numbers speak for itself.
Well,
I would say popular music. He put out popular music.
Since we
then.
talking to whom, I hear you
To the masses.
to mainstream, but also keep in mind, and what's really funny about this moment is he's suing the record label and accusing them of payola. If you're familiar with payola, or people who are not, it's when an artist or their label will pay radio stations and streaming sites to promote that person's music. And he himself is a beneficiary of the same thing that he's suing for.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I mean, I don't rock with that, but I feel like maybe he was pressured into doing that, because he's a
I think
he's a business, you know what I mean?
he is a business, and I don't
Yeah.
know so much that it's pressure, But again, when you need the numbers to look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think people utilize payola in itself um, for that perception that something is more popular or more visible than what it actually is. And especially in this age of social media and influence and followers, people are following blindly. But just because a lot of people follow something blindly doesn't necessarily make it good. Because, and I say that because you have certain music that stands the test of time. There's certain bops you could put on right now and you're going to rock for it, ride to it now like you would back then. And it's going to be the same thing 5, 10, 12 years from now. Can you name a song or an album from Drake that has stood the test of time that you would listen to now and it goes just as hard as it did then?
I'm not that big of a Drake fan, but I will say this: like, I have a playlist, and like some of the songs on my playlist, like I say, like "Pound Cake," the song with Jay-Z. I feel like that's when I listen to.
I don't know that
Yeah.
song.
Um, what's the other one I was listening to? I don't want to sing because I can't sing, and I don't want to get made fun
We ain't
of.
gonna get too far off the topic.
Uh, but yeah.
But you get the point. You know, there's certain music that stands the test of time, and certain things that are iconic. Not Like Us is going to be talked about 5, 10 years from now. Not like, and it may or may not hit the same. We'll find out.
I feel like it was just people getting tired of Drake. It was just
It was
like
more than about Drake, though. It was about, so it was, don't get me wrong, it was definitely
yeah.
about Drake, but it was so much bigger than Drake. I think what's happening is you have the actual, the community, and
Mm-hmm.
especially the community that has created hip hop and that has created the art and the culture. We're taking it back. We're taking it back from the pretenders, from the people who like to kind of voyeur into our spaces and then try to make it their own. Because Drake ain't hip hop. Drake wasn't raised in the culture. Drake is from Canada. Drake is raised by a Jewish family, and that's not a bad thing. But it's different than where he comes from. And I know people say, well, his dad is from Memphis, but I believe he didn't get super tight with his dad until he had reached the fame and he had
Mm-hmm.
reached the stardom. So, but that's not what he hails from. He doesn't hail from this culture. So to
Mm-hmm.
come in and now act like you got that you not only have a seat at the table, but that the table is yours and you own it, no sir, no sir, no ma'am.
Okay.
So I do think the moment was bigger than just Drake and Kendrick. It's really about the artistry coming back to the hands of the artists and out of these corporate puppets, and these industry plants
Mm-hmm.
that have been put there. We've been told you're gonna we're gonna catapult this person. I'll give an example. Um, I'm not a huge fan of Sexy Red. I get it. There's a place for Sexy Red, but I'm thinking to myself, of all the talented artists that exist within hip hop, and especially those who are gifted, who have a flow, something to say, um, I'm like, how does a person who doesn't have anything real to say, that's not particularly talented in this genre,
Mm-hmm.
how do they get the same level of access and stardom and fame? And so, and then for her to be co-signed by someone like Drake, it's like, well, who are you even? So, I mean, when I don't know, I think there's a movement right now. All of that to say, I think there's a movement happening where the culture is really taking back what is ours. And I think that's going to be even more prevalent over these next four
But that all
years.
kind of circles back to like what I mentioned before about the sexualization of women. Like you
Not
said,
even, it's not even about her being sexualized. It's the fact that you are here to be purely sexual and not talented, where everybody else that we talked about before we got to her
mm,
has talent. But unfortunately, we live in a society that prefers the sex, or that they won't listen to the talent until they can see some booty, some breasts, you know. So
mm,
until women's voices are respected authentically as their own,
yeah,
you're going to see women try to kind of conjoin themselves into these different characters and narratives and shapes, but I do think that women deserve the place to simply just be, because we can be more than one thing. You know, you can be a mom and you can be sexy. You can be a talented lyricist and still, you know, like what you like. But there's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
I would say that there's a time and place for everything.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the films.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about you. We'll wrap this up shortly, but I want to talk about you hosting a lot of the things that you've hosted this year. So like the film fest, Two Fresh Film Fest you hosted
Shout
this
out to
year.
the Two Fresh
So
Film
what was that
Festival.
experience like?
That was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of different filmmakers and kind of find out about what other projects are happening. And I think that's so important because you have this you have this thing where, you know, if you're in your own little bubble of creating with the people that you're creating with, it's easy to kind of get lost in what you're doing and not know who else or what else is out there. So shout out to the Two Fresh Film Festival. Shout out to you for all the work that you did to make that happen, because you know, I wouldn't have known of all these different projects going on. I think a lot of people wouldn't have known of these
Yeah.
different projects that we have breeding in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You know, so it was cool. It
No,
was cool to
thanks.
talk to a
Appreciate
lot of
that.
different people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy how that was brought about because it started off as a reel. Jose Stanford asked me to write something for his reel before he left for Atlanta. So I said, okay,
Shout
that's
out to
cool.
Jose.
Shout out to Jose doing big things out in Atlanta.
Indeed.
So I said, okay, that's cool. And he wanted to tag along and bring Brianna Gibson to be included. So he said, write a part for her as well. And I said, what do you want it to be about? He said, well, I did a headshot as a jock, so I need you to write something about a jock cheating on his girlfriend, something simple. So I was like, okay, I could do that for you, but you wanted it to be a scene, and I think I just missed that part when he said he wanted to be a scene. So I was like, okay, I'll just drag this out a little bit, and he was like, oh, this needs to be a short film. Like we need to, okay, shoot this as a short. Let's pump this up. Let's get people. Let's get extras. Let's get a location and all that. So we ended up shooting like it was a short film. And then once I edited and everything, he was like, "This needs to be big. Like, let's do a premiere for it." I said, "Okay, that's cool." And then he was like, "Yeah, we need to start charging people, make some little bit of money we can give to our cast and crew." I said, "I don't know about that because we don't have enough material for it to be worth somebody paying, you know, their time to watch it." So I said, well, let's do like a film festival. Let's get other people's films included, you know, let's do that. So the main thing from that was really to pay our cast and crew and everything.
That's cool.
So yeah, so that's how that was brought about, and then it ended up being like this snowball that kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in one part we were doing podcasts, next part we were on the local news, and
Yeah.
it was just like, oh wow, like so it really stroked motivation in all of us to continue it and continue to do big things. So that was just
Sure.
like a spontaneous blessing that we received, and to have you to be part of that was also,
Oh man, that was such
you know.
thank you. Thank you again for inviting me to be a part of it, because that was a lot of fun. I got to find out what's happening. So no, that was cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then you also hosted the Black Film Series that we had. Well, you did the panel.
We did.
Yeah. So like, how was that panel different from when you did like the talk show host part with the cast?
Yeah, the panel was different because of the live audience engagement. Number one, I was not expecting that level of a turnout that we had. That was a really good turnout, and we had people come from all over. I think shout out to Queen that came down from Louisville.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She drove down 2 hours just to be a part of this particular moment. So that made it different. Definitely the crowd interaction, being able to also see the films and the actors and the creatives that brought them together. So that was a unique experience in itself, because everything is happening and unfolding in front of this audience.
And the crazy part is, the woman that came from Louisville, she ended up winning or
Your
gift
raffle,
card.
that's
Yeah, gift
right.
cards. Like, okay, you got gas
You got
money on it.
gas,
Yeah. So
yeah.
everything, I think happened the way it was supposed to happen, honestly, with
Yeah,
that.
and she said she wants to come back, and
Yeah.
I think that was the same night because I came straight from um, an acting workshop that I
Mm.
was hosting, and
Let's talk about that.
she asked me when was the next workshop. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can jump into it. I was able to create some really cool workshops this year, and granted, let me preface by saying I don't consider myself to be a top tier professional, but I do think it's really dope to create the spaces where we can kind of work through strategies and we can take scenarios or creative ways to sharpen our focus and to improve and hone in on our craft. And so creating the space for the artists to come and have that shared collective experience, I think that's important. And I would like to see more of that. So I designed a couple of workshops and I'm still designing more workshops that I'll be debuting in 2025.
Okay. Is that like first quarter 2025 or?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure, within the first quarter. But it's something I plan to do regularly,
Okay.
and taking it further at past 2025 because it's something that number one, I want to continue to improve and get better at. But also, I want to let other actors know or aspiring actors know there's room for you. There's room for you to come and practice and sharpen. And I think that's the beautiful thing is when you get a bunch of amazing creatives in a space, they all sharpen each other.
Yeah,
So,
not only is it room, but you also want to make sure, and I'm pretty sure you have a safe place where actors can come, because sometimes I know it can get a little, because everybody's levels are different.
It's
So
true.
you can be a beginner coming to class with someone who's been acting since
It's true.
they're in
But that
diapers.
beginner now has a space to learn,
Yeah.
and they got people to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. So I always want to keep it friendly, keep it welcoming, keep it fun, and engaging. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the workshops.
So is this something that you do by yourself, or do you have a team behind you that helps you do it? Or?
So as far as the workshop itself, it's something that I'm doing alone. But as far as where I've been able to host, I am a part of a amazing group called the Maroon Collective, and so a group of friends and we created this Black artist house. I'm the only one that doesn't actually live in the house, but it's a Black wellness and artistic space for Black creatives. So it was designed with that in mind. And so one of my best friends, shout out to Alexander Shelton, who does yoga and sound healing, and another good friend, Jamie Lee Moores, who does writing workshops, and she's written a book, and she's also a poet, so she's hosted workshops from the house. I've done the acting workshops from the house. We have another friend, Keisha Smith, who has done gardening workshops. So everybody has their own niche, but the goal is to create space for Black artists to come and feel welcomed and to kind of just leave better than than how you came.
Sounds very interesting. So how does that work? You guys just live in a house and do creative things, or you come with ideas, or
Yeah, so again, I'm the only one that doesn't live there. So
yeah.
now, so we've been able to kind of explore what does that look like to have a residency there versus what it looks like to be a contributing member who does not live in the house, an auxiliary member rather. So it's been cool to workshop that. But yeah, I do. I love the process of and the idea of number one having collective communal spaces because I think that's something major that we need as Black artists is we need to have those communal spaces where it's safe for people to come and practice to exist and to be. Um, and then for us to be able to figure out what are ways that we can take some of the pressure off of each other. It's one thing when you live alone and you got to do all the labor and the housework by yourself versus when you share that labor with a group of people that you love and that you trust. So it's something that we've workshopped over this year and that we're still workshopping, but that's exactly how I've been able to kind of house my workshops so far.
Is there any other projects you got going on for 2025 that you want to talk about?
I do.
Okay, let's hear about it.
I'm jumping back into my poetry bag.
Okay.
My first love is the stage. So I'm writing a poetry series. Anybody that has followed my poetry journey, there was a piece that I wrote back in 2009 that was kind of dubbed as a fan favorite, Chocolate Milk.
Okay.
And so now I'm revisiting that piece, and now it's becoming a series. And so it'll all kind of be around that theme of milk. So I won't say too much, but it'll be kind of the theme of like you have spoiled milk, expired milk, you know almond milk. So those are the pieces that I have currently. So I will be performing those soon.
Can you bless us with something? Anything?
Oh man, not from that series yet, just because it's not completed.
No, just anything.
But anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I
A little something.
I'll give you a little something. This might be a little
Hey,
rated and edgy at the end. But
it's cool.
But rock with me.
I'm rocking with you.
Lately, I've been dreaming of a revolution, seeing constant evolution in the signs of black minds turning moments into movements and making them legendary. Citing Garvey, Huey, Malcolm by any means necessary. We are rebuilding the daydreams that were crushed by the disparities of harsh realities, returning vitality to our communities and making them green. We are rebuilding a nation, reshaping renaissances reminiscent of Harlem, teaching the hood how to urban garden, buying land that once housed plantations, recycling wealth through black generations. No more of our greatness being relegated by hatred. No more tediously waiting for freedom and reparations. We are our saviors, and we come to save us from these systems that vilify victims after they leave you with no pot to piss in. Yet and still, I know you've been witnessing all this black boy joy and black girl magic, celebrating black roots with African hair and fashion. Imagine what kind of Wakanda we could create if we choose to elevate our mental and economic state, no longer asking anyone for permission to be great. Because you were never supposed to thrive in a system that only ever had you in mind as a commodity. That same monopoly that made you go to jail can't afford your bail. Meanwhile, your opponent can now buy and sell your property and collect $200 when they pass go. And we ain't burnt this place down yet, though we will let them know the revolution will not be televised. But we might Instagram live that hoe. That's called Sound the Revolution.
Hey, Ken. Hey, get us some water, bro.
Yeah.
Need some water for this mic right now, bro.
So, poetry is my first love. The stage was my first love.
Okay.
And so it's always cool to kind of jump back and forth between the stage and the film world. And I'm working in both. So I'm doing my poetry thing right now, and I'm also writing a film right now. Shout out to my homeboy Joy Mufaro, who is a fantastic director. So I've been wanting to work with him for a few years, and so we finally linked up this past year, and we're currently collaborating on a film right now.
Okay.
So,
hey, hopefully we see that film sometime next year for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, in the works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we run out of time right now, but definitely next time we have you on, we gotta dig some more in that poetry, because that was fire right there.
I got some more in the tank for you.
Man, we gotta do something. Do something out here.
For sure.
All right, audience, that's all we got right now. But as always, stay fresh in anything you do. We're out.
Peace.
So like as you're talking, it's not like I'm not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I got something I can refer to, so that way I don't.
Yeah, get stuck.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you a question, but
Cool.
asking questions about B3C and what makes B3C different from other film groups, or.
That might not be a great question.
I don't want to open it though. Sometimes I just freestyle it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready, bro? Can you put it on 2?